You are listening to Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, aspiring actors. With me, Louise, the artistic director of Standby Method Acting Studio. And every week, I'll be talking with you and sharing how you can become a paid, working, unstoppable actor, because you 1000% can. An acting career is doable. Are you ready? Hi, welcome to another episode of Unstoppable Actors. I'm really excited about this episode for you because it's been a while since I recorded one. I think the last time I recorded one for you was the 25th of May, which is almost a month ago. How crazy is that? Time flies by so quick when you're having fun. So the reason I've not recorded a podcast for the Unstoppable Actors podcast for you is because I've been filming. I've been filming the role of Louise, which is obviously my name as well, but I wasn't playing myself. But yeah, I've been filming the role of Louise for a feature film. And this was a supporting role, and it was a really, really big role. And I wanted to share my experience with you. I wanted to just really dive into everything that I've been through, the entire process of what it took from, getting cast, well, in fact, all the way from the audition to getting cast, to getting the script, to rehearsals, to actually filming, and then afterwards, because I want you to learn about all the challenges that I experienced and the challenges of being on a film set, so you can feel prepared when you come to shoot your first or your next film. I also wanted to share the lessons that I took away from the shoot as well. So hopefully I inspire you, because I learn so much. I feel like this is the one production that really ignited my growth as an actress. I've never learned as much in my life. And I know I've been acting for a long time or been in the industry for a long time, but I don't know, there was just something about this film in particular where I've come in it one actress and then I've exited the film a completely different actress. And I felt like this would be really useful for you to hear, because the mindset that I've adopted now is that I always want to go into every audition and every production, whether it be stage, film, TV, as one actress and coming out having experienced growth. And I felt like I experienced huge growth on this film, both on a personal level and on an acting level as well. So I wanted to share that with you because hopefully, like I said, it'll inspire you. I did put a post out on our Instagram stories and I asked you what you wanted to know about my experience of being in this feature film. And I got some absolutely amazing questions come in. So I'm going to be answering those in this podcast episode. And cheeky little plug here, if you do want to come and follow us on Instagram, I have linked our handle in the description, or you can just type in @Standby Method Acting Studio, and it's all in lowercase. So if you type into Instagram @Standby Method Acting Studio and then just click follow, you will get access to more behind the scenes stuff of what we get up to at the studio, of what I get up to in my acting career. You'll also get even more tips and advice and exercises that you can check out to help you keep growing to becoming an unstoppable actor. So that link is in the description underneath this podcast, or you can just type it in now as you're listening and come and follow us. And if you do follow us, come and say hi, come and drop me a DM, come and say hi in the DMs and let's have a little chat. There are also some exercises that I mention in today's podcast that I used whilst filming that made a massive difference to how much I could connect to the character and to the choices that I made about the character. And these in turn obviously impressed the director who, I never got any bad feedback. So they did. And it just made me feel way more confident. So if you want to get your hands on these exercises, they're available in an online course called Seamless, which is only £39, which is ridiculously cheap. And you don't need to be British to buy this. If you're American or European, you can still buy it. Obviously, at the checkout, it'll just convert it to your local price. Yeah, that's the right way of saying it, isn't it? So yeah, if you want that and you want to get your hands on these exercises, they're going to help you create seamless characters so you can get recommended for more and more acting jobs, which is essentially what you want. It's easier to get more acting jobs off the back of an acting job than it is by just auditioning for people that you don't know. So yeah, the link for Seamless is underneath this podcast as well. It's in the description. So go and click that. It is an online course, but it is very, very practical. And I actually demonstrate the exercises for you via video, and you can watch them over and over and over again and see how I do the exercises until you've mastered them. And the beauty of it being online means you've got lifetime access to this. So you can, dip into it whenever you need the exercises. So it's essentially like you've got me on tap as your acting coach. I'd highly recommend it because honestly, the directors were very impressed with what I did. And even my scene partners actually after the scenes were just like, wow, you were so in that. And before I dive into the questions that you sent in, the person who played my mum said something really, really lovely. And this is an actress who has done TV soaps. She's done a lot of TV work, a lot of stage work. And she came up to me at the end after we'd wrapped and she said, Louise, I felt like we just created such a good connection. She said, I felt like I wasn't acting with you. I was just being and living through it. And honestly, that's because of these exercises that I've used in Seamless. So definitely go and check that out for £39. My God, like you're just going to get, I think there's 7 exercises in there for you. But yeah, if it wasn't for them, honestly, I would have probably fallen flat on my arse with the character because it was a challenging character, it was a challenging script, and it was a challenging shoot. So go and check that out after you've listened to the podcast. But let's just get straight into these questions then, because they've been absolutely brilliant and I can't wait to answer them for you. So the first question that came in on our Instagram was from Tegan, and she wanted to know about my experience on set, what the experience on set was like, and if we had much rehearsal time before shooting and what it was like. So for this feature film, we did have rehearsals, which you don't normally get with films, in my experience anyway. You just don't normally get rehearsals. But the script was so challenging and the way they were shooting it was so challenging. We had to have rehearsals, but we didn't have rehearsals with the entire cast. So it was just myself and the person playing my on-screen boyfriend who rehearsed. And we rehearsed for 2 days, a week before we shot. But we didn't rehearse all of the scenes that we were in together. I can't remember exactly how many scenes we rehearsed, but it wasn't all of them. Those rehearsals were so useful just for testing things out, getting clear on what it was that we wanted to do, making choices, and obviously from after the rehearsals to the time between shooting to get even clearer, on anything that didn't work in rehearsals, going back to the drawing board, doing more character prep, doing more scene prep to help me get super clear on what it was that I wanted to achieve in the scenes. So yeah, we did have 2 days rehearsals, but we didn't rehearse every single scene in the script. And that was a challenge when it came to shooting, having some scenes that we had rehearsed and some scenes that we hadn't. I really appreciated the fact that we did get those 2 days rehearsals because, as I said, it is very, very rare on a film set that you're going to get any rehearsals whatsoever. Usually in my experience of doing films, like you're doing all of the prep work yourself at home. Prep work means the character prep work, how you're connecting to the character, developing the character, learning the lines is obviously a part of the prep, making choices about the scene, making choices about the character. But then you take that to the film set and you will have normally, maybe you would have had a table read. Some films that I've done, we've not even done a table read. Like literally you're just meeting your scene partners on the day. And that can be very challenging for creating a connection, creating a chemistry with these people. So it was really nice to have the rehearsals with my scene partner who was playing my on-screen boyfriend because we got to start to develop a relationship as actors, not even as the characters. I always feel like that's so important because especially in a role where you're playing somebody's boyfriend or somebody's girlfriend, if the chemistry's not there, then the audience is just not going to buy into the story, are they? So that's really important. So that's what I appreciated and took away from those rehearsals. And as I said, it showed me what choices were working and what choices weren't working that I'd made about the scene and that I'd made about the character as well. Yeah, those were done at the director and producer's house. And in all honesty, they were, what time did we rehearse? I think it was only 10 till 4 on both of the days. So they weren't even full days, but they were so useful because, as I said, this film was technically challenging as well. And I'm going to get more into that later. I'm going to explain these technical challenges and I'm going to explain how it was also challenging in other ways as well. But yeah, so two days rehearsals, and all the other scenes that we didn't rehearse, because we didn't have the other actors, they were rehearsed on the day. Like literally we got maybe a couple of rehearsals before going for a take. It was such a quick turnaround. So the film is a feature film, which basically means I think it was about 100 pages long. So short films, I think they come in at like under 20 minutes. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. But feature films are around 90 minutes. So yes, it was, a big script, 100-page script, and I was in a lot of those scenes, lots of dialogue with repetition, lots of technically challenging scenes. So yeah, all the other scenes were rehearsed on the day. We got a couple of rehearsals and then we were straight in for a take. What that meant is that I had to bring very clear scene choices and character choices because of such little rehearsal time. And it meant that I had to be very confident in those choices as well, but also not get so rigid in them that I couldn't be open to anything else, because the director, their job is to guide you towards what they want for the bigger vision of the film. And obviously as an actor, we're not thinking about the vision of the film, are we? We're just thinking about our character and the scenes that we're in, so we can get really caught up in that. But the director's thinking about the bigger vision of what the entire feel of the film is and the look of the film as well. So yeah, I had to be open to what the director wanted to. And this is why I highly recommend Seamless, because this will help you for situations that you find yourself in like this, and it will help you make concrete choices on the character, because it helps you go from, firstly digging out the clues in the script that are often very well hidden, so you can find them, and then you can use your imagination and make those clear choices and bring those choices to the scene, so the director's really impressed with your work. So yeah, just 2 days rehearsal, and not even with the entire cast. Actually, the person who played my mum, I think she came in on day 3 of shooting, and that was the very first time I'd met her. So I had to make a real quick connection with her. I'd never met her in fact, no, that's a lie. I'm saying I never met her in my life. She was in the audition, but I didn't speak to her in the audition. So I didn't have a connection with her. So I had to make a real quick connection with her. And I feel like if I wasn't confident in the character and wasn't confident in the choices I'd made, then maybe I wouldn't be as confident making a connection with her. But I was confident in doing that because of all the groundwork that I'd laid out before, like way before the rehearsals. So yeah, I really do recommend you doing Seamless. And again, as I said at the beginning, the link is in the description. It's underneath this podcast. Definitely go and check that out, because you'll just rock up to set feeling way more prepared, feeling good about the choices that you've made, and also as well, just feeling like you can be open to exploring when the director throws you a curveball and says, actually, try it this way, when it's completely different to how you'd envision the scene. So that was a really good question, Tegan, and I hope my answer has helped you understand my experience a little bit more. And then another question came in from Peter, and Peter asked, what was the most challenging thing about the character? Oh my God, Peter, there were so many challenging things about it. But I think the most challenging thing for me about the character is that she was very, very, very close to me. Like the parallels were ridiculous. This wasn't a character that I struggled to connect to, because I felt like me and her were one. But this is where the challenge was. I didn't just want to play me. I didn't just want it, and the ironic thing is the character was called Louise as well. And obviously I'm called Louise. And that was like throwing some people off, because they were like, Louise? And I'm like, yeah, my name's Louise, but this is a different Louise. But yeah, I didn't want this Louise to be just me, Louise. I wanted to find the differences between me and her too. And I wanted to find what made her tick, which was slightly different from me. And it was also very challenging because she was in a very frustrating situation, or she's in a very frustrating situation in the script with her partner. And there were a lot of scenes where this frustration was coming out. I didn't just want to play her as just being this frustrated person, because me as Louise, the actress, even though I understand the frustration, and my frustrations have been very similar to the ones she was going through, I also understood that frustration can be very nuanced. So I was a little bit scared about just playing her as this frustrated, angry person who was just showing nothing other than that frustration and anger and shoutiness and angst that was inside her. I wanted to find the nuances of what was actually behind that frustration, what was behind the anger, what was behind the shouting, what was behind the conflict between her and her partner. You know, I did actually ask a couple of times to watch the footage back on the monitor, because it's one thing making a choice about the character and going, okay, so I know she's frustrated in this scene and the frustration does have to be expressed, but like, what's motivating it? Where is it coming from? And to play it out is another thing, but then to see how it's playing out, like, that's the one thing we can't do as actors, is we can't see our own performance, can we? Because we're in it. So a couple of times I did watch the scenes back on the monitor just to see how they were coming across, so I could learn from it. But then I actually don't like doing that as well, because you can get a little bit nitpicky about yourself. So I think I just watched a couple of scenes, and then after that I decided, you know what, you're just going to have to trust the director, because I didn't really enjoy watching myself, just because the footage was so raw as well. And I was like, oh my God. And it was on such, like, the monitors weren't massive, so I wasn't getting a real experience of what the scene was like, so the monitors were quite small. So yeah, in the end I just said to myself, I'm just going to trust the director, and he knows what he wants and he knows whether it's coming across or not. So that was the first, well, they were the first two challenges, is like, firstly, just not playing her as this shouty, angry person all the time, because that would just be such a turn off for the audience and wouldn't actually show a 3D person. It would just show her as like this one-dimensional person. And the other challenging thing about her was that she was just so close to me. I didn't just want to play me either. And then there was another challenge with her as well, actually. I was actually worried about whether there was a genuine chemistry between myself and my on-screen boyfriend. And I really wanted the relationship to be as authentic as possible on screen, because I know that if it's not authentic and people don't believe in it and they don't believe there's a chemistry there and they can't feel it, then they're just going to get turned off by the story and they're just going to lose interest in it. So one of the things I did is I really took time to get to know the actor playing my on-screen boyfriend. And, you know, obviously you guys know me as an acting coach. I'm an acting coach who specialises in method acting. And for those of you that are new, I've been coaching actors of all levels, you know, from those with literally no experience to those with a bit more experience, to help them really up-level their acting ability so they can go from being unknowns and they can fill up their acting CVs quicker. And so I do that using a technique called method acting, which is what a good majority of actors in, you know, A-list actors are using. And actually it's what a good majority of TV actors use as well, and stage actors. And so method acting has given me, over the years, a lot of exercises that I can use to make a genuine, deep, authentic connection with scene partners. And even though I didn't want to play acting coach that week, and I was like, okay, Louise, this week you take your acting coach hat off and you put your actress hat on. I did actually do an exercise with my scene partner who was playing my on-screen boyfriend, because we did get talking about the craft, which, you know, you'll find when you're on film sets, all actors do it. Like, we talk about which techniques we use and which acting practitioners' work we love the most. And, you know, and obviously I started talking about Lee Strasberg's work, which is what formed method acting. And so I said to my on-screen boyfriend, I was like, do you want to try this exercise with me? It's like a combination of Lee Strasberg's work and Meisner's work. Are you open to trying it? And he said, yeah, go on then. So we did this exercise, and it requires you both to be very, very, very vulnerable and very open. And obviously he's an actor who's got a lot of experience behind him. So he just jumped into it with both feet and was really vulnerable. I was just like, wow, I was totally blown away by him in this exercise. This was when we were doing a really long day, actually. I think it was like an 11, 12-hour day, and we finished filming at like 11, half 11 at night, I can't remember. So it was a very long day, and this was at night. And once we'd done this exercise, it instantly felt this deeper connection to him, and he felt this deeper connection to me because I'd held space for him in this exercise, and it just changed everything. It absolutely changed everything, and we were able to connect on a much deeper level, and hopefully that's what now comes across on screen. And I did keep asking the editor, actually, who was called Rich, I kept asking him, like, does it look like a genuine, authentic relationship on screen? Because he was the great thing about this film, actually, which I've never known happen before on any of the films I've worked on, but after all of the takes, like, the editor was ripping all of the footage and he was editing a rough cut whilst we were still filming. And a rough cut just means the first edit of the film, and it's very, very rough, and it would never be used, but it's just to piece it all together so you can see it logically. And yeah, I was asking him, does it look like a genuine relationship? Is there a genuine chemistry? Can you feel the chemistry coming off of the screen? And he was saying, yeah, it really does. And you can feel that you care for each other, and you can feel the frustrations. So that was actually a real privilege to have the editor with us. I mean, the rest of the guys, well, actually not the full cast, the director, the producer, the writer, the person playing my on-screen boyfriend, the editor, I think I've just said him, and not even the sound guy, they were all staying over on location where we were shooting, but I wasn't. I was going back home every day because I literally only live 20 minutes away from the set, and also I've got my cats to look after as well. But yeah, he was like editing long into the night, and I've never experienced that before. That it was such an amazing experience to have the editor with you as well, which at the end when we wrapped, so he'd already done a rough cut and he'd already put together a trailer, which was just brilliant. So when we wrapped, I was like, oh my God, Rich, I've heard that you've done a trailer. Like, everybody's saying how amazing it is. Can I watch it? And he was like, yeah, of course you can. And so I went up into the attic where he'd been beavering away. And honestly, I was blown away by this trailer. It was absolutely amazing. And he said that was just a rough cut trailer as well, and they might not necessarily use that. But I was just like, wow, like, you've done such an amazing job to put together this trailer and really sell the film. And it was actually really nice to see the scenes that we'd shot. Like, they'd not been colour graded or anything, and they'd not had much done to them. They'd literally just been, sewn together, and the music had been put underneath or on top of the trailer. But it was just absolutely amazing to be able to see that, because you never normally see that on a film. It's like, usually the film then goes into post-production, and you could be waiting months, absolutely months. Or actually, in some cases, I've got a film that I did absolutely years ago. I did this film about, God, it must have been a decade ago. And this feature film is only just being released now. And I haven't seen the trailer. I haven't seen the film. I haven't seen any of the rushes. Didn't see any of it when I was filming. So that's going to be an experience, seeing a film that I did 10 years ago. I think it's coming out on DVD. But yeah, I feel like I'm a totally different actress now from the actress I was 10 years ago. But it was such a privilege and an honour to have the editor with us. And I would always recommend, actually, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're filming and the editor is there and they are editing, I would definitely recommend you make a good connection with them and strike a good relationship with them, and ask them how it's coming across, because they're the one who's putting your work together, and ask for their opinion as well as the directors. So that was absolutely amazing. And he reassured me that there was a chemistry between us. So that was nice, actually, because it reassured me and validated that all the preparation I'd done on my own at home and in Costa Coffee, that's where I usually go to a coffee shop like Starbucks or Costa Coffee, or independent coffee shops as well. I go to them as well. It just reaffirmed that the work that I was doing has paid off. The preparation work by myself, the work that I'd done with my on-screen scene partner in the rehearsals, and then the exercise that we'd done together, it just confirmed that all that had worked. So that was really nice to hear, because that was a big thing for me, just wanting the relationship to be very, very authentic. That was a really good question, Peter. I hope that has helped you. And yeah, I hope when you guys do get into doing films, or you do your next one, I do hope you get that experience of having the editor with you as well, because honestly, it just brought something else to the entire experience. And I'm glad I was confident enough to be able to ask him his opinion and actually trust his opinion as well. I think that's another thing. It's one thing to ask for an opinion, but to trust their opinion is an entirely different thing altogether. So the next question came in from Nicholas. Nicholas asked, what challenges did you face and how did you overcome them? So obviously I faced the challenge of the character, which Peter was asking about, you know, the character being very, very, very close to myself and not wanting to just play myself. But actually, and also as well, which I've just dived into the challenge of like whether the chemistry was authentic or not. But actually there were more challenges than that. Technically, it was a very challenging film. Now, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about the film. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about how it was shot. So I'm going to be quite careful in how I word this in case I get in trouble, because I don't want to, in case I let the cat out of the bag. But all I will say is, for those of you that have worked on film before or done TV work, you will know that what usually happens is most people start with filming a wide shot, which just means you, the actors, are in it, all of the actors, and also the background as well. And then you normally cut, and then you normally do a mid shot, and then you would cut again, and then you would do the scene again and do a close-up, and then maybe an over-the-shoulder shot, that kind of thing. Well, there was none of that in this film. So the close-ups, mid-shots, wide shots, over-the-shoulder shots, they weren't filmed separately, as is the norm in films. Everything was just shot on one camera in one take. So in one take, this one camera was getting the mid shots, it was getting the close-ups, it was getting the wide shots, it was getting the point of view, it was getting the not necessarily the over the shoulders. I don't think there was any over the shoulder shots in this one, but we were literally doing one take, one long continuous take without cutting, which meant we had to be completely on the ball, because what usually happens is in a wide shot you can give like 80%. You don't need to give everything emotionally, because the wide shot is picking up, as it says, like everything from a wide angle, and it's usually the close-up where you give 100 or 120% with the emotional work, because the close-up is getting everything that's happening in your face and your eyes. But we had to give 100% every single take, because as I said, we were filming in one long continuous take, which was getting wide shots, close-ups, and everything all in one go, just off this one camera. So that was massively, massively challenging. And also as well, the scenes were long. They weren't like a typical film. Like if you've ever done TV work, or if you ever do come to TV work, the scenes are usually quite short, and it's usually the same in film as well, and they're not very dialogue heavy. Whereas in theatre work, the scenes can be really, really long, and they are very dialogue heavy. And so this was a bit like a mixture of doing film and theatre. So even though it was film and we were shooting using the camera, and it is a film and it's going to be shown at the cinema, hopefully, wherever it goes, hopefully it gets to DVD, hopefully it gets, you know, online streaming as well. But it is a film essentially. But some of the scenes were really, really, really long and very dialogue heavy as well. So there was one scene that was shot one evening, which was just myself and the actor playing my on-screen boyfriend, and this scene was 10 minutes long, literally 10 minutes long, and we were having to do the work as if it was a close-up, but to make sure it's still read for like the mid, like when we were in the mid shots, when we were in the close-ups, when we were in the wide shots. I don't want to confuse you, but literally we were just filming off one camera. You know, I've worked on films before where we've had a 7 camera setup, and that just means there's like 7 cameras around us and we're literally only filming it once. Or maybe the director asked for like another couple of takes if we didn't quite get it, or if there was something wrong technically. But it means those 7 cameras are all set up for different shots. So there might be one camera set up for the wide shot, there might be one set up for the close-up, there might be one set up for the mid shot, there might be one set up for the over-the-shoulder. But in this situation, we just have one camera. Sometimes films are also shot where they are just using one camera, but each time you do a new take, the shot is changing. So yeah, this 10-minute scene was so challenging technically, but also emotionally as well, because the scene literally had so many peaks and troughs in it. There was a moment where I'm feeling absolute elation and joy, and then in the next line, literally in the matter of a line, I've gone from elation and joy to shock. And then in the next line, I've gone to despair and then to anger. So it really made me work my craft hard as an actress. And honestly, if I always say in the podcast, and I always say to my students, and I always say, on our socials and in our Unstoppable Actors group, that you have to put the craft first for long-term success. And I don't just say that like to mean nothing and for it to be an empty statement. I say it because I mean it. Like if I had have not put my craft first and really invested in my training and getting training as an actress, whether that be, the method acting training that I've done, continuous workshops and courses, honestly, I wouldn't have been prepared for the challenges of this scene. Just this one scene alone, and many of the other scenes were like this as well, where there were just peaks and troughs and we were changing quickly from one emotion to another to another to another. But we also had to be technically on the ball as well. And that was a massive, massive, massive challenge. And honestly, it's because of that I feel I have grown so much. I knew what tools I needed. I knew what exercises I needed to be able to change quickly from each emotion. And also I knew what I needed to do technically for the shots as well. But that's only come from having all of that training and investing in myself, and also then testing it out in other films as well, building up experience, because that's what you have to do when you're training. It's not just about staying in training. Like, you do have to continuously train, I believe anyway, but then you have to test out what you're learning in the training, in auditions and on film sets and on stages, so you can test whether you can stand on your own 2 feet as an actor. And I can honestly say, hand on heart, I now know that I can stand on my own 2 feet as an actor. And that 1 10-minute scene that we did, which was cycling through so many different emotions, when we heard cut at the end, the director was like, we've got it in the first take. And I was like, yes, how exciting. But we had to do another take because something technically went wrong with the camera. For some reason, the camera cut out like in the final 30 seconds of the scene. So I think we only did another 2 takes of it, but we'd literally got it in the bag in the first take, which is absolutely amazing. And yeah, that was just so exciting to hear. So they were the challenges that we faced, and that's how I overcame them. I overcame them by using the tools that I've learned from all these years of training and all these years of testing out what I've learning and training on film sets as well. I literally don't think I could have done that scene or any of the scenes, honestly, if I hadn't done any of this stuff. So yeah, hopefully that helps you there, Nicholas, with that, and everybody else listening as well. But I just want to reiterate, guys, that, even though I am an acting coach and I've been training actors for the last 12 years, I am also an actress as well, and I practice what I preach. Like, my students know to keep training, and they do it, and that's why they get cast in things. That's why they go from being unknowns and get TV work. They get directors to take chances on them in TV roles, because they have literally been investing in their training with myself. And actually, I just want to digress ever so slightly, because I've been recently writing off to agents. In fact, I was doing it last week. I wrote to over 31 agents, and I'm writing to about another 31 this week. And as I've been looking through their websites, one thing that's cropped up time and time again is that they want to know that you are regularly training, that you are taking classes, that you are taking courses, and that you're not, just resting on your laurels, and you've been, not doing anything to keep up your skills. That's a big thing for them, because they have to be able to sell you as an unknown actor to casting directors. And so it really helps you in both ways, really. When you're on a film set, when you're rehearsing for a stage play, the training will pay off there, because you'll know what you're doing, you'll feel confident, and you'll be able to hit the emotions that you need to hit. But then it also helps you in the business side of acting as well, because you can say genuinely to agents without lying, because some actors do lie and make up little fibs. You can say, yes, I do train regularly, and that helps them trust in you as well. So yeah, even though I'm an acting coach, I also pay for training as well, because I know I need it. And actually, now the film is finished, now we've wrapped on it, I am going to be going back. Obviously, I'm still training my acting students, but I'm going to be going back and taking some acting classes myself again, because I feel I need to recalibrate. I feel I need to shake off that character, and I need to go back to basics and go back to the craft and just go run back through all the basics again just to re-familiarize myself with it, so I'm ready for the next auditions that I get and I'm ready for the next production that I get. And that is essentially how I work as an actor. I will do a production and then I will go back to the craft and go back and get learning, and go back and get some coaching, and then I implement that into my auditions and I implement it into productions, and then I come back and I train again. So I would highly recommend you guys doing that. And I know I've mentioned this course a few times, but honestly, for 39 quid, which is not very much money at all, Seamless is a brilliant way to be learning and training your craft. I would highly recommend you check it out and even just enroll in it, because you've got it for life. Like, these are the exercises that I've used to help me cycle through all of these emotions. Oh, another challenge actually that came up, I want to share this with you. So another challenge that came up whilst I was filming is that I got a self-tape request in the middle of filming, and there was a really short turnaround with this self-tape. I don't think I had very many days to prep it at all. But the problem is that the filming days were really, really long. So some of them were like 11, 12 hours. Some of them were 9 hours, which 9 hours is just like your typical working day, but it was draining because of how many emotions we were experiencing and going through and having to, conjure up an experience in each take. And because we shot a feature film in eight days it was, I think we were doing anywhere between 6 and 9 scenes a day that we were shooting, which is a hell of a lot. Like, sometimes film companies take months and months and months, or even up to a year, to film a feature film. But no, we did it in 8 days, which that in and of itself was a challenge, to be doing so many scenes in a day. So yeah, I got this self-tape request and it was a struggle to fit in the preparation for it, or to find time to prep for it. But what I found, I submitted the self-tape and I didn't get the role, which I was expecting. I didn't think I was going to get it, because in all honesty, it wasn't one of my strongest self-tapes that I've done, for many different reasons. Like, firstly, I couldn't get a scene partner. I just couldn't get one in that amount of time. So I had to record the other lines into my laptop and play them and respond to them. So that was one big challenge. The other challenge was actually, as I've already said, like finding the time to prep for it. I just didn't have enough time to prep for it. And then the other challenge that I found is that my head was so in the character for the scene that I struggled to get into the character for the self-tape. So I submitted it anyway, because my mindset now is always that I want to learn from everything. I don't beat myself up anymore. Everything is just a learning experience. And I came out of that self-tape knowing I hadn't got the role, but knowing that I'd learned from it. And I know that going forwards, either I don't take on any audition requests whilst filming, especially when it's as intensive as it was, or I just have to maybe have less sleep and spend more time prepping on it. That's what I have to do. So yeah, that's what I've learned from it. But that was a massive challenge, but it was good to have that challenge. I'm really, really grateful that I got asked for this self-tape audition. So yeah, but again, like, we're going to find challenges all the time, aren't we? We're going to come up against challenges, and it's not about beating yourself up. It's about, how do I approach the challenge, and then how do I review it afterwards, and how do I see myself as an actor? So yeah, that was another challenge that I had. Oh my God, there was another challenge as well. They just keep cropping up in my head. So another challenge that I had, well, there were 2 challenges really. One was that some of the lines were so funny. They were absolutely hilarious. They would literally crack me up, and I would be laughing uncontrollably, to the point where I was rolling around on the floor and doing really loud belly laughs. And I'd start to worry, thinking, oh my God, what if I can't concentrate when we're going for a take? Like, I literally didn't want to be corpsing in the middle of a scene and making myself look unprofessional. But then, because I was laughing so much, that would make my scene partner laugh as well. So then they would catch the laughter and we would literally both be laughing uncontrollably. It was so funny. And I did start to worry, like, what is the director thinking? What is the producer thinking? But because I've done a lot of camera work in the past, and because obviously I do train my craft regularly, and obviously I teach this as well, as soon as I heard action, I don't know what it was, I just found the focus, and I never ever cracked up in the middle of a scene. I think this comes from me having never stopped my training. I'm just going to keep re-emphasizing to you that you have to put the craft first, and the craft first doesn't mean you practicing monologues in your mirror in your bedroom. It means actually going out there and getting guidance and feedback from an experienced coach and letting them teach you exercises and then letting them give you feedback on how you're doing with them. And I still do that now. I feel like you have to be constantly open to learning throughout your career so you can keep improving and keep realizing as well, be humble enough to know that you don't know everything. I'm humble enough to know that I don't know everything. And I'm humble enough to know that there's always room for improvement as well. So yeah, it was just, the director and the writer and the producer and even the editor were shocked and gobsmacked. They were like, how can she go from like rolling around on the floor 1 minute, like in fits of laughter, to being really, really focused when we call action? But honestly, it is literally because of the camera work experience I've got and because the exercises have been drilled into me. That's what it is. Like the exercises and the ability, the exercises to help me focus and give me that focus have been drilled into me as well. So I do recommend having a really strong technique under your belt like method acting, because I think without method acting, I would never have been able to get away from the laughter and wouldn't have been able to focus the way that I did. So the final challenge that I had then was, if you've been listening to the podcast since about March time, you'll know that I've had some really challenging personal issues going on in my private life. And on the final day of shooting, they were brought into filming in a very unexpected way. They were just brought up, and I'm not going to go into how they were brought up or where they were brought up or who brought them up or whatever. I'm not going to go into any of that, but they were brought up on the day. And actually I'm just going to be honest, I burst out crying. That's what happened. I burst out crying because they were brought up by someone who didn't know about them. But thankfully, I'd been honest in the rehearsals and I'd told the director, writer, producer that I was having some personal issues in my life. And actually on the day of the final day of filming, I did take the director and writer and producer to one side and just say, listen, these personal issues have intensified a little bit today. I'm just letting you know because it might affect my concentration. I don't really want it to, and I will be professional and I'll draw upon my craft and do my best with it. But I just want you to know that they are affecting my concentration. And I feel like they really appreciated me being honest. And because I did that, it kind of took the pressure off myself. There was nowhere to hide. I didn't feel like I had this big burning secret underneath me because I'd been honest with them. So anyway, yeah, they were brought up by someone who had no idea about them. And I did cry, and I burst out crying in front of the person who was taking the behind the scenes pictures, in front of the sound guy, in front of my scene partners, in front of the director, writer, producer. And I just apologised and said, I'm really sorry. And I took myself off and I did a technique called step out. And I just said to them, I just need 5 minutes just to go and do a step out to reset myself and refocus. And they said, that's fine, Louise, just take as long as you need. Now, obviously, I didn't take the piss and take longer than 5 minutes because I knew we had a schedule to stick to. But again, because I constantly train my craft, I constantly work behind the scenes on it by myself and get coaching as well, I could go away and do this step out. And it just helped me get rid of all these feelings from my personal life, get rid of the tears, get rid of the sadness and the upset, and then come back ready for a take. And it was like I was a new actor with none of these feelings there. So that's how I dealt with that. And then the person who brought them up apologized to me. And then I started crying again. I was like, oh my God. So I was like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just going to go and take myself off again. And again, I went into the bathroom and did the step out, and it helped me. And it actually, I'm kind of grateful that these personal issues were brought into it because it made me refocus and find a new level of focus that I perhaps wouldn't have found if these personal issues from my private life hadn't have been brought up. But honestly, if I didn't know about these techniques to reset me, it could have been a completely different story. And I could have been that person who held up the filming and brought my personal issues into the scenes and got very out of control and wasn't able to focus. But it wasn't that. I was able to focus. I found a new level of focus. I was able to stay in character. I was able to find new moments in the scene and really bring something new to the scene as well, because I really value constantly training. So I hope you will see the value in constantly training as well, and not see it as like, oh, it's an expense. and it's just draining my bank account of money. Yeah, of course you have to pay for it. There's no such thing as a free lunch. But that's the payoff that you get when these things happen, when these obstacles and these challenges happen on set, and you can deal with them because you've got the tools and techniques under your belt. And I was still able to work in a very professional way and not let it affect the character or scene. And I think I showed my scene partners and the sound guy and everyone else on set that I can deal with things. And hopefully that's something that these guys will remember about me now. You know, if a project comes up that they think I'm suitable for, they'll go, yeah, do you know what, Louise is a really good person to work with. She's professional, and even when she's got stuff going on, she can deal with it. So I'm going to recommend her for this part, because that's how it works, guys. Like, whatever you're bringing to set and however you're working, in the character choices you're making and the technique that you're bringing, is painting a picture of who you are as an actor. And that stays with the people that you work with. And it's from then that they decide whether they would recommend you or not for other projects that they come across. So I'm kind of appreciative, and I'm very grateful that that happened, because I showed that I am a professional actress, and I work my craft, and I don't let my personal life interfere with things. So yeah, they were the challenges that I came up against. So I hope that's useful for you all. And then the final question that came in is from Ben, and he says, how did you get the part and did you enjoy it? Firstly, I loved it. I loved this part so much. And I'm really sad to let her go. I loved the part because she was so close to myself, and that was a massive challenge. I loved the part because I worked with an amazing cast and crew who were so open, so creative, so giving, so inspiring, and they were just lovely behind the scenes as well. And I loved the part because it was so technically challenging. I just loved it so much. There's always going to be a part of this character with me for the rest of my acting career. I just know it. It was such an amazing experience, and such a cathartic experience as well, because it was so close to me. It helped me, you know, make a lot of realizations about my life as well on a personal level. So how did I get the part then? I have gone through this before in one of the previous podcast episodes, but basically the film company reached out to me because they know I'm an acting coach and they know I train actors. And they specifically wanted local actors from in and around Sheffield. So I obviously coach actors in Sheffield. I also coach them in London, and I coach actors in an online capacity as well through the various online programs that we've got. But this is a Sheffield Theatre Company, a Sheffield film company, and they were very specific that they wanted local actors, which I'm also very passionate about as well, because as a northerner, there's nothing more frustrating than the majority of things being cast in London. Even things that are shot up in the north that are cast in London, it absolutely irks me. So I'm really passionate about this. So I was like, yep, I can recommend actors to you, and I did. So I passed on the casting brief, and I also recommended my acting students to them that I thought would be good for them to audition. And then I just asked them if they'd be open to an application from myself. That I told them I was coming back from a big break from acting. I was told them that I was relaunching my acting career. So I was very honest with them and said, you know, I've not done a film for God knows how long. So would you be open to an application from myself? And they said, yeah. So I applied. So even though I know them, and I didn't have like a personal relationship with them, but I knew of them because I've worked for them a couple of times in a different capacity. But yeah, I sent in an application, and I sent it in as if I didn't know them. And I got an audition, and audition day was a massive challenge because of all the personal issues coming up. But I turned up, I worked my craft, focused, did my absolute best, came out of the audition and just said to myself, whatever will be, will be. You know, if you don't get the part, you're going to learn from it. You're going to learn from the audition experience. And if you do, that's a bonus, and that's amazing. And then 4 days later, I got an email to say I got the part, and I literally cried for a full hour. I was crying for like maybe even longer than 60 minutes. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it, just because of all the stress I'd had leading up to the audition, which you can listen to in more detail in a previous podcast. I can't remember which episode it was in, but it was only about maybe the last episode or the episode before. It was no longer than 2 episodes ago. So just literally go back through our podcast and listen to the last 2 podcasts, basically. But yeah, I was over the moon to get it, and I was so excited. And then after I cried, I was like, right, I cannot wait to get the script, and I cannot wait to get into the character prep and read the script. And I can't wait to just start the preparation process, which is what I love. I love the preparation process. I love the rehearsal process, and then I love the actual shooting process as well. They're all very different and I get something different from each of them, but I absolutely loved it and I have just completely grown. I am a different actress now. I've evolved so much with my craft, with, you know, how I approach things, with how I connect to people, who I'm working with, and yeah, just absolutely loved it. And I feel like this is the start of Louise the Actress 2.0. So yeah, I hope this has been a useful podcast episode for you. I hope you've managed to take some things away from it, and I hope it's inspired you, and I hope it's allowed you to, you know, just really reevaluate your own growth as an actor as well. And I know I've mentioned it loads of times, but I would love to see you inside Seamless. Just definitely go and check it out, because honestly, you will experience so much growth for yourself as an actor. You will feel so much more confident at the end of it. It's a brilliant little online course. You've got me demonstrating the exercises for you, like I actually do them and show you how to do them, so you can visually see how you're supposed to be doing them, and then you do them yourself. And the other thing is you get a Facebook group with it as well, where you can upload the exercises that you're doing and actually get feedback from me as well. So I'd highly recommend you do that. But I really hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next episode as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye. I have absolutely loved hanging out with you, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Unstoppable Actors, the essential podcast for ambitious, aspiring actors. Now, if you did, I'd really love you to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and leave a review. And if you would like weekly injections of inspiration, you'd like mini method acting challenges to keep you making progress with your dreams, come and join the most supportive acting community online by clicking the link in the notes to help you become an unstoppable actor.